Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. Today, we will be reading a story called An Omega's Strength. This is an ABO fic, so if that's not really your thing, I would suggest a different video. Light filtered into the room, and Logan's haze of sleep began to lift. Still half in his dream, he snuggled into what he thought was his mate. The scent was still thick, but the object was too soft. It didn't feel like Patton. He opened his eyes to see a pillow in his strong arms. It was disappointing, but not uncommon. Patton was the most impressive Omega Logan had ever met. Somehow, he would wake up early in the morning and slip out of Logan's strong arms. He did this without waking the Alpha. It, among many other things, was what had caused Logan to reject the stereotypes of their society. Logan got out of the bed, turning off the alarm clock. He didn't need it to go off now that he was awake. He walked to the bathroom to shower. Many, in their twisted society, believed Omegas to be lazy. However, Patton was always the first awake in the house, and often the last to sleep. In a single day, he would cook all 3 meals, bake snacks, take care of their 4 adopted children, clean the house, do the laundry, and more often than not, a few other chores that needed to be done. Yet, despite doing so much work for the house, Patton never seemed tired. He always had a smile on his face and was always willing to help when Logan asked. Logan tried to ask less now. He did not want to stress Patton out, but Logan still found Patton helping him. Without even asking, Patton just knew. He had a sixth sense about what the people in his family needed, and he was so willing to give. Getting out of the shower, Logan began to get dressed. He wore his standard tie and polo shirt, the most appropriate outfit for his job. Though as he pulled them out of the closet, he couldn't help but smile at the bright pastel polos his husband wore. There were those who believed Omegas to be weak. Logan would never say Patton was weak. Though Patton was not as physically strong as he was, he had a strength all his own. Patton was kind. In a cruel world, kindness was not easy. It had been Patton's idea to adopt their children. They had planned on starting with one, seeing how well they would do as parents. Roman had been their top choice after meeting the different kids. He was a strong child with a sense of justice. Logan knew, with the proper tutelage, he could be a strong and compassionate alpha in the future. The problem was that Roman had a twin brother who did not like to follow rules. He was chaotic and destructive. But they were brothers. All they had was each other. Patton did not hesitate. It was one of the few times Patton made a decision without consulting Logan. They'd been planning to bring home one son that day. They brought home 2. Patton poured out as much love as possible on those 2 boys, and because of his compassion, 2 brothers did not have to be separated. Logan walked out to the kitchen. He could smell the meat being cooked. "Patton, you should wake me when you leave the bed." "You were sleeping so peacefully, Logie. I wanted to make sure you got enough rest." Logan nuzzled into Patton's neck, taking in his scent. "Do you want me to watch the food while you get the kids ready for school?" Patton giggled. He was a bit ticklish, but also so happy at Logan's affection. "Of course! Let me get the kiddos." As he bounded off, Logan took over cooking the bacon. Their 3rd son had been rejected as broken by many families. He suffered from a myriad of mental disabilities, many of which were not being properly treated in the foster care system. It was also assumed that he would present as an Omega in the future. He was shy, timid, and scared of the world. That did not stop Patton. With his relentless optimism, they took Virgil home and began to give him the love and care he needed. 3 years later, and Virgil no longer needed his anxiety medication. He still had anxiety, but he was able to manage it and was able to see the possible futures in front of him. Patton came downstairs. Roman and Remus were already fighting. Virgil was being carried in Patton's arms, and their last son, Dolos, held tight to Patton's free hand. Much like Virgil, Dolos had been a special case. As a victim of severe abuse, he felt safer showing as little skin as possible. He constantly wore gloves, a hat, and a long-sleeved shirt. For extra measure, he would often wear a cape to hide his body in, but Patton loved him all the same. Logan watched as Patton peppered Dolos with embarrassing kisses, watching as the boy lied and said he hated it. Logan did not understand how some people, thankfully very few, still believed Omegas were property. They believed an Omega's only use was in being controlled and used. How could they not see what he saw? Logan had never believed that Patton was his to own. Patton was his to protect. His kind, sweet, and gentle Patton was not an object. He was something so precious and so much more valuable. He was water to the thirsty, hope to the dying, a comforting companion to lost children. As an alpha, Logan could look after the physical well-being of those children, but what Patton could do was so much better. He could love them completely and unconditionally. No alpha could ever show this much compassion, at least none that Logan had ever met. Even he struggled with it, but not Patton. He only hoped he could instill in all of his children the importance of finding a good mate, no matter what they grew into or who they chose to be with. He wanted them to be able to have what he had, someone who made you better, just by being themselves. He wasn't sure if all Omegas had this strength, or if it was just Patton, but Logan could not be happier at being by his side. Thank you all for listening. Again, this one is called An Omega's Strength, just a light, fluffy one for us to end the week on. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.